Hey everybody, Brendan Randolph here, and I'm joined by Battlefield Wrestling coach Brian Shaffer. And coach, first off, just how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on with you guys.
Awesome. And Battlefield is coming off the Virginia 6A state championships. You guys finished in third place and had three individual state champions. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but just tell me a little bit about how proud you are overall of the entire wrestling team for their performance.
Well, it was a great weekend for us. I mean, we had 6 qualifiers for the state tournament. 5 of them placed. We put 4 of them in the finals, and ended up with 3 champions. So that match last year, we had 3 champions last year. We matched our goal, and it had another 3 champions this year. So as far as this weekend, it went as well as we could have hoped. We fell a little bit short of our goal, but I think if we had a little bit better weekend last weekend at the regional tournament, we would have been able to come home with the state title. But overall, very proud of the guys. Happy for their individual successes and ready to get back at it again for next year, hoping to come home with that team gold.
All right, and to be honest, I'm not entirely familiar with all the stuff, like all the conditioning and all the training that wrestlers have to do to make sure that they, maintain their weight classes and make sure they're all ready to wrestle and stuff. So just tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you have your guys do to make sure that they're in the best shape they can possibly be for fighting time.
Well, really, at this level, and it's like a lot of the sports now, the soccers and some of the other sports, if you want to compete at the elite levels, and a lot of our guys would like to move on, and compete in college, at Division I or Division II, you really need to train year-round at this point. So most of our better kids really are doing that. Even the kids like River Curtis, who's a 2-sport athlete, he's playing lacrosse right now. He still trains with wrestling 2 or 3 nights a week at our club practices. And it really has to become more of a lifestyle, If you want to be the best at almost any sport, really, you can't expect to do it 2 or 3 months out of the year because somebody else out there is going to be working harder, going to be working longer. And, most of our guys have really, decided to put the time in. That they have certain goals that they want to reach, and they're willing to sacrifice to do that.
All right, and you mentioned River Curtis. His match was tied 1-1 in the third period against Colonial Forge's Mark Garofalo, and he was able to pull it out there in the end. He dug deep. So just what were some of the things that were going through your mind as he was going through that match?
Well, we had a lot of confidence in that. I mean, River and Garofalo have seen each other a couple times. They actually met in the finals River's freshman year and beat him. They were at different weights last year, and they both won individual titles. And although this was the first time they had met, we've been in a lot of the same tournaments. And Garofalo's had a lot of success. We had him scouted pretty well. We had a good game plan, and we just knew. I mean, we prepare our guys. We go to some of the best tournaments in the country. We travel to the Beast of the East in Delaware. We travel to Powerade, which is one of the top tournaments out in Pittsburgh. And, we really prepare our guys for those situations. And, we were ready for it when it came down. We had a lot of confidence in him. If he just stuck to the game plan and executed, we knew that he could come out with a victory there.
Awesome, and obviously he's not the only one. Brandon Wittenberg also coming up with a state championship over Tallwood's Thomas Island. He got the first championship for you guys. So do you think seeing Wittenberg win kind of helped the other guys and got them motivated for their matches as well?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's nice to have a guy that's that talented and that good down to the lower weights because it gets momentum rolling, it gets the ball rolling. I think it did it for us last year, and I think it really helped again. His excitement, I don't know if you saw when he won. Brandon's not usually a kid that shows a lot of emotion, but he was pretty pumped. He went through a tough time, kind of a crazy story. The night before, he had already won in the semifinals, and we were at the hotel just getting ready to go to the bed. A couple of parents were getting dinner, and Brandon got a power bar or a protein bar from the front desk. Ended up he didn't check it, and he had a severe allergic reaction. He has a nut allergy, and ended up having to take him. His parents had to take him to the urgent care. They ended up sticking him with an EpiPen. Had to transport him to the hospital. He was actually in the hospital until about 4 a.m. in the morning. So he had a rough night, but they were able to get it under control. He was actually able to make weigh-ins that afternoon, that morning at 7:30, and then wrestle for the state championship that night. So, just an example of a kid, just a tremendous desire, overcame a lot of adversity. A lot of kids, those distractions would have hindered them in the finals, but he was able to just kind of refocus himself and win his second straight state title.
I mean, that's just incredible. I mean, I can't imagine, going through something like that, being that just ill and sick, and then being able to come back and win a state championship. So, I mean, how do you think he was able to, be so tough and be able to tough that out and be able to come through?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty crazy. I mean, we didn't know in the middle of the night. We weren't sure whether or not, he was going to recover in time and whether or not the hospital would release him. But, again, I think, that kind of attitude and that kind of, personality is not developed overnight. This is something that this kid has been working on for years. We put him in these situations all the time, obviously not identical to that, but tough situations, and we make the guys work through it. And, they understand. There aren't very many days in our sport where you're going to go out there feeling 100%. It's easy to win when you feel good, but you've got to be able to overcome that adversity. There are going to be some other things and other distractions, and you just kind of have to put your blinders on and focus. And, he was able to do that, and we were excited for him.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you guys had the 3 state champions, Zach Fight as well, and all 3 of them, if I'm right about it, are going to be coming back next year. So Battlefield should be just as strong again next year. So how do you think you guys are going to be able to do next season?
Yeah, we're excited about next season. We're actually returning 13 out of our 14 starters from this year. So, we're excited. I think if you saw, any of the post-match interviews with our guys, they were excited about dominating next year, and that was kind of the theme. A lot of people were asking them questions about their titles this year, and they were already looking forward to next year. One of our goals has always been to produce individual titles, but we really want that team state title. We've been close the last couple of years. I think we were 5th 3 years ago. We were 2nd last year, 3rd this year. So we've been, right in the hunt. But, we've been able to knock off Robinson and Colonial Forge on some individual, basis. We beat Colonial Forge in a duel last year, but we want that team title. That's our team goal. And, we're back and training for it, right now.
All right, Coach, and last thing, we'll follow up on that. What's it going to take for you guys to be able to get over that hump and be able to get that team title?
Well, I think we just need to get all of our kids to really buy in and believe in our system. We have a tremendous staff. I don't know, how many people are aware. I've got, 4 other coaches on the staff. All of them have Division I wrestling experience. 2 of them, Johnny Curtis and Brian Burns, were Division I All-Americans. We have a special group of kids, and kind of this year where we were good, we were really good, and I think that showed at the state tournament. If we can get a couple of our other guys, to buy in and really start to perform. Bo Curtis, Rivers' younger brother, went from JV to placing 4th this year. Jackson Burns, Brian Burns' son, was JV last year. He was a state qualifier. So we get a couple more guys like that to really buy in. Our studs, our horses are going to be there. They're going to be ready to repeat and win other state titles. If we can get a couple more of those guys to produce, I think we can knock off, Robinson and Colonial Forge and some of the other powers and get our first team state title.
Well, Coach Shaffer, thank you so much for joining me here today. That's all the time we've got. Congratulations on the great showing in this year's state tournament, and best of luck next season.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thank you.